And welcome back to Sports the NEMO Way, the Kevin Garnett episode, the big ticket. The 6'11", 240-pound power forward is a one-time champ, one-time MVP. He's a 15-time All-Star, 9-time All-NBA, playing 21 years in the league after being the number 5 overall pick, and he is a Hall of Famer. With career averages of 17, 10, and 3 on 49% shooting. And now I will kick to Uncle Doug, who has him ranked the lowest of any of us at 45 overall and number 7 on his power forward list. Uncle Doug?
Well, this is my turn to say I screwed up. I don't know how I ended up with him at 45. I guess I was looking at numbers and not. He was lower on my power forward list, and it was just a mistake. He's definitely going up on my power forward list. I'm not sure exactly how high yet. Probably 4 or 5, somewhere in that range. And he'll definitely be going up on my overall list. I'm guessing upper 20s or something. I'm still working on revisions. But Kevin Garnett was definitely a force to be reckoned with. His points all time, total points, he's 21st. His average is 142. Rebounds, he's 10th with a 59 for his average. Assists, 52, and blocks, 20. He's the only player with 25,000 points, 10,000 rebounds, 5,000 assists, 1,500 steals, and 1,500 blocks.
I have that down as well.
Yeah, he is just pretty amazing. I enjoyed watching him come out of high school and go play for the T-Wolves. And then he played, of course, depends on who you talk to, one of the super teams, first super teams with the Celtics and win his title there. So, yeah, I have to take my punishment for being. I made my mistake. We all have had to apologize at some point, I think. So this is mine. I have him in the wrong spot.
Fair enough. Well, that will kick us quite a ways up the list to Drew, who has him 31 overall and 5 on his power forward list. Drew?
Oh, well, with KG, I think he's got most about everything accolade-wise. I mean, he's got MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, championship, rebound title, multiple. The only thing he doesn't have is a Finals MVP, which he was definitely the second best player, I think, on the championship team. I think everyone would agree with me on that. I would say he was definitely the leader in defense on that Celtics team, and he could score when he was needed to. So I think Kevin Garnett's got most of the stuff we asked for from him.
Is that it?
Yep.
All right. Well, then that will kick us to Wade, where there is another decent jump here at 23 overall, and also number 5 on his power forward list. Wade?
Yeah. I grew up watching KG. He was one of the big superstars in the NBA when I first got old enough to really watch it and know what the hell I was watching. When I think of KG, I think of intensity, defense, and versatility. He might be the most versatile power forward ever, maybe. I think that's his big thing, in my opinion, in his defense. I said in the Charles Barkley episode, after Duncan, slots 2, 3, 4, and 5, you can make a legitimate case for 4 different guys to go anywhere in that order, between Barkley, KG, Karl Malone, and Dirk. And KG's argument, in my opinion, would be his defense and his versatility and his overall game compared to some of those guys. That's what puts him over the edge. Now, I do have him at 5 in that last spot out of those 4 guys. I will admit, I'm not sure why I put him below Charles Barkley. I'd probably put him above Charles Barkley, to be completely honest. But then we can argue the other ones later. But yes, very intense, phenomenal defender, very versatile, underrated passer for a big man, great mid-range jump shot. And yeah, he got his championship. Some of the most accolades we've ever talked about, and yeah, I think that's enough to start off with.
All right. Well, then that will kick us to Ray, who has him number 12 overall and number 2 on his power forward list. Ray?
All right. For a man who came out
straight out of high school and so much passion and grit and grind mentality, there's really been only two big names, Kobe and Kevin Garnett. And yeah, I'm aware there's been more, especially LeBron, but LeBron just doesn't have the same mindset as these two. Another player on my list who meets all this criteria: grit and grind, hardworking, defensive specialist, offensive threat, and he even has some handles and a little bit of a passer's vision. The man checks all the boxes. The man even has class to go back to where it all started, to a city that took a chance on him, and he retired there in Minnesota. His once-in-a-lifetime gifted talent, and you cannot deny any of his abilities were miles above the rest. As well as that, no fear mentality when he went up against you, made the battle even more epic. I love my grit and grind guys, and that's why Kevin Garnett is my top 50.
All right, Ray. Thank you, sir. And that will lead to myself, who has him ranked the highest overall at one spot ahead of Ray at 11, and number 2 on my power forward list. I think we can all guess who's number 1. But just a few things here for my opening statement on Kevin Garnett. One of which Uncle Doug mentioned earlier, being the only player with 25,000, 10,000, 5,000, 1,500, 1,500. Then he's also one of 4 players in NBA history to win an MVP and a Defensive Player of the Year award. And he's one of 5 players to lead their team in all 5 major categories for an entire season. And he's one of 7 players to have 26,000 points and 14,000 rebounds. He's second all-time in blocks by a power forward. And something I found very interesting, I think Uncle Doug briefly mentioned it, he's 52nd all-time in assists. As a power forward, I think that's very impressive. He is the all-time leader in assists for a power forward, just barely ahead of Karl Malone. And only one center has more assists than him for their career. So essentially, he's second all-time for a big man in assists. And my last point for my opening statement is he won a Defensive Player of the Year and has 12 all-defensive teams while playing at the same time in the same position as Tim Duncan, who was considered one of the greatest defenders to ever live. So I think that speaks to just how special Garnett was on defense as well. And that is the end of my opening statement, which now I will introduce the guest for today's episode. Yes, it's another episode with a guest, and it's not Mark or Schaller. We have a new guest. So today we have Buddy here, resident Timberwolves fan and Kevin Garnett fan. And so we brought him on for this KG episode. So I will leave it to Buddy to talk about some KG.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, I'm probably one of very few Minnesota fans in the state of Missouri or Illinois or the Midwest. But no, whenever I think of KG, he is my favorite player of all time. Would I rank him number 1 on the power forward list? No, I wouldn't. But I would rank him number 2. Whenever I think of him, like his intensity, his, mental game and his trash talk, and he backed it all up. And as you mentioned, the guys he played with in that era, that power forward class during that time was outrageous. But I think the thing that stands out the most to me is his versatility for sure. He could legit guard 1 through 5 on the court. And the way he moved his feet and, the way he just brought it every game. He never took a game off. He never sat on the sideline watching. He was there every game. So, that's what I think of KG, and that's why his passion just makes me love watching that guy. And his highlights are just so fun to watch. Screaming in your face, blocking 3 shots in a row. Yeah, I would crap my pants if I was on the court with that guy.
Well, I don't disagree. I don't know that I'd want to be on the court with Kevin Garnett either. Especially since he's like an entire foot taller than me while he's doing it. So, well, thanks, buddy, and glad to have you, man.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I do want to say I was looking at some of Garnett's seasons here, and 02-03, he averaged 6 assists a game, and he didn't play like a partial season. He played all 82 games that season, and he averaged 6 assists a game. He had quite a few seasons of 5 assists, but for a big man to average 6 assists a game, it did take me off guard.
Well, especially considering the best player on his team was Wally Zerbiak. I thought it was crazy then.
Yeah. No, you're right. Like there wasn't a lot of talent in those Timberwolves teams. By the way, I do believe Wade. One of your trivia questions weeks and weeks ago was about KG leading. He was the all-time Minnesota assist leader. That was correct, right?
Maybe. I think that was quite a while ago. I can relook it back up.
Well, it's not a big deal, but
I believe you're right. Yeah.
I think he's the leader in all statistics.
Yeah, he is. That's what I was getting ready to go with it. He's the leader in all 5 major categories for the Timberwolves.
I mean, I know they're an expansion team, and he played with them, his whole career, essentially his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
I know he had that stretch in Boston, but there hasn't been another guy to stick around longer than 5 years in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, he's been his first 12 years were in Minnesota. I think Karl Anthony Towns is probably second longest tenure, really.
Which is crazy to think about.
Yeah. If Karl Anthony Towns sticks around, he might pass KG in scoring. He's been a scoring machine the last few years. Averaging mid-20s every year.
And the way the game's changed, he can shoot the three, and it's a lot of stretching out, a lot more than what it used to be.
100%. And KG was never an elite scorer. He was never a guy that was going to average 30 or anything, but he was solidly there in the 20s, got up to the mid 20s there during his Minnesota times. So yeah. By the way, speaking of them being an expansion team, buddy, I had this stat over here. The Timberwolves became a franchise in 1989. Before Garnett got there, their franchise had never won 30 games in a season. Think about that. Never won 30 games. So that means the most games they'd won is 29 games in a season. That is pathetic.
I know we argue or debate a lot about the worst run franchises ever. I think Minnesota is right at the top of the list. They are terrible.
Well,
I mean, and we can dive into some of later years when Garnett was there and the drafts that they had. It'll blow your mind if you don't know.
I would like to dive into that here in a second. But I will say this. In an episode, was it the Steve Nash episode, kind of went in pretty hard on the Phoenix Suns franchise and how they screwed that up.
Talking about their owner.
Well, the Phoenix Suns make the Timberwolves make the Phoenix Suns look like a model franchise.
Another team I can think of similar to them are the Kings. The Kings are pretty poorly run.
Yeah.
They are, but the Kings it's a recent thing.
Right.
Because they weren't a shitty run. Like, the C-Web years were pretty awesome for them.
Mm.
That was only a 3-year stretch, though?
I'm not sure how long it went on there, to be honest with you.
They were in the Western Conference Finals. And the 1 year they made it, I think, second round they played the Lakers again. And another year, I think they got second round.
It might have been 3 or 4
At
years.
least they were in the second round or conference finals there a couple of years.
I mean, KG made the Western Finals once, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. With Minnesota, I mean.
Around the same exact time.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Buddy mentioned the power forward class during this time. I mean, my name's mixed up. Wade mentioned, Garnett and Duncan being, interchangeable there. They played at the same time.
Dirk,
yes. What did I say?
You said Duncan.
Oh, sorry. But Duncan played at that same time as well. So Dirk, KG, Duncan. But for 5 years there, we had prime C-Web too.
Yeah.
So there's 4 Hall of Fame power forwards playing right there all together, and all 4 of them playing in the same conference.
Yeah. And not even trying to be funny or biased, but Elton Brand was putting up 20 and 10 every single year for like 8 years and was never talked about because he played with those 3 or 4 guys.
Well, not only did he play with those 3 or 4 guys, but he played for a dog shit franchise in the Clippers.
He played for more than one dog shit franchise.
And
And don't anybody forget about Charles Oakley.
we'll try.
No, but really, I mean, he was 20 and 10 for almost a decade straight,
Dude,
and only made like 2 All-NBAs.
Elton Brand is
nuts.
his career is underrated because he's actually like top 25 in multiple categories now.
Yeah. He was an elite shot blocker, even though he was like 6'8".
Yeah.
He was a phenomenal rebounder, mid-range shooter, post scorer. Like
He's another guy though that got hurt, came back, and just dabbled for years. Like if he would have retired a couple years after his Achilles pull, his career numbers would be really nice. But he sat on Philly's bench during the what you call it
process,
and just sat there
he
and
went to Atlanta after that and sat around Atlanta.
So Elton Brand's numbers got hurt badly by that, similar to Vince Carter, really. Who just toiled around in the league for a long time after his career was pretty much over.
I wanted to be the only player to play in 4 decades.
Another really famous power forward from that era was Jermaine O'Neal. He was a superstar for a couple years. He also played the same time as all those guys.
Rasheed Wallace was there.
Rasheed Wallace. Yeah.
He was a bad dude too. You know, there was that power forward class was
Antonio McDyess.
Nuts.
He was
for about until he got hurt. He had probably 4 or 5 years there in Denver where he was a beast.
It kind of reminds you of the Ewing argument with all the centers that he played against.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's some guys there that if they played in a different era, like I know you guys discuss a lot, they'd be talked about a lot more than what they are.
Well, since Buddy brought it up, let's go ahead and ask the question. How does KG fare in other eras of basketball?
I mean, he'd be just fine.
He's fine.
I think if he's in one of the eras that if you succeed in that one, you're going to be fine in all of them, in my opinion.
I personally think KG would thrive in all areas of basketball. Yeah. Today, he would be a center, not a power forward.
Right.
But other than that, he could play power forward in every area of basketball, I think. He may have gotten, pushed around a little bit more in the 90s and 80s, but he wasn't so little. I mean, the very beginning of his career, he was really skinny, but he put on enough weight that he would have been all right.
As a power forward, I think he would have been okay. As long as he wasn't banging against like Ewing or Olajuwon. Like, I think as power forwards, I think he would have been fine.
I think if he was a center in today's league, he would kill. I mean, there's not a lot of back to the basket anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, you only have certain couple of guys that can do it and do it well. I would love to see an Embiid Garnett matchup. That would be so fun to watch. You know,
that would, I like that.
And 2 elite trash talkers.
Oh yeah, I think some fists would be flying by the end of the night for sure.
Oh, yeah. I read an article once that said that KG and Gary Payton were they were in like they had them like it was like the top 10 trash talkers of all time, and they had them both in the top 10. But they weren't like 1 and 2. But they said they were like the meanest and the craziest trash talkers that you would talk to. They said the shit they would say to you was insane. It's like absolutely insane.
I saw multiple interviews getting ready for this where guys would talk about Garnett crossed the line routinely.
Gary Payton did the same thing.
They were like Garnett. Nothing was off limits to Garnett. He would talk about your mom. He would talk about your kids. He would talk about your wife. Nothing was off limits to him. And if you wanted to fight, he'd fight you.
And he constantly disputes that he would never say anything personal.
He does say that, yes.
Yeah,
I've heard him say it.
But at the same time, I've heard the Honey Nut Cheerios comment.
Right.
You know,
I read that too.
I don't know if
Carmelo. Is that the Carmelo comment?
That's the Carmelo comment. Yeah. And I mean, talking about the trash talk and stuff, I got some funny stories from around the league. You know, I heard once Steven Adams was playing against Garnett and pretended like he didn't even know how to speak English just so he wouldn't have to come back to it. He was like, I don't speak English. Like he openly said, I pretended like I didn't even know how to speak English just so he wouldn't get in the confrontation. The Joakim Noah ones, anybody heard the Joakim Noah came in the league and apparently he idolized Garnett. He had posters on his wall and Garnett was his, that was his favorite player of all time. And his very first game against Garnett, he's like, "Hey Kevin, I idolized you growing up," and he's like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
Then he went down the court, and Garnett put a move on him, and Joakim's running back up the floor. He's like, "Wow, man, that was a nice move. Can you show me how to do that?" He's like, "Get off my nuts, dude. Fuck you." And so he constantly, talking trash. I mean, there's so many. I mean, you could go on for days about calling people. Who was it? Chris Bosh, a mama's boy, and he said that mentally broke him for months. He openly said that I would lay in bed at night and be like, "What you mean, mama's boy?" But he didn't have the guts to say it to him. And he said that he is one of the strongest guys that has ever grabbed him before in his life, and it threw him off guard because he was so small. You didn't expect it. And he said that was the toughest challenge in his career was Kevin Garnett talking trash, and the mama's boy thing broke his soul.
By the way, talking about Garnett being skinny, we made multiple comments about Garnett being skinny and everything. It has him listed heavier than Patrick Ewing.
Dude, these fucking weights, man. They're fucked up.
Yeah, we've said these weights are a mess.
I'm curious to see Ewing's weight in Toronto. Or in
Probably.
320.
They have Garnett weighing more than David Robinson. David Robinson was yoked.
Yes,
He was yoked. He's like a half a bodybuilder. Like, he's just ginormous. And KG is not weighing more than David Robinson.
Well, they have Malone only 10 pounds heavier than Garnett, and Carl.
Oh.
Karl Malone is like maybe the most jacked NBA player ever.
Yeah, him and Robinson are both.
Yeah.
I don't know about Moses Malone, who's fat as hell. He's heavier too.
Just a couple other ones that I just thought were funny. The Charlie Villanueva comment in the game.
Oh, yeah.
This is where it comes back to, like, I never said anything personal, but I mean, Villanueva suffers from a condition where he's allergic to his own hair, I believe. And he called him a cancer patient on the floor. And he went to Twitter and was like really calling out KG on Twitter. I mean, the dude was ruthless, and I loved it. I loved it.
The thing is, though, is KG was. I mean, we hear all these stories from other players, but as far as a guy that watched his entire career, and most of us here were able to do that, you never heard it. You never heard about it then. You know what I'm saying? Like, late in his career, guys started to talk about it a little bit. But, like, I don't, especially like in Minnesota, I never heard a peep that Garnett said this shit. Like, we never heard anything like Garnett's such an asshole. Garnett is so mean to people on the court. Blah, blah. You knew he was intense. You knew he was screaming and carrying on. And you knew he was talking. It's obvious he's talking. But, like, it was kept under wraps for however.
Well, probably scared to say anything.
Make fun of him even more on the court. He was a great player on a team that no one watched, though.
That's
like,
true.
do you hear about Karl Anthony Towns doing a lot now?
No.
No, because they've sucked since KG left.
Yeah.
You don't hear about bad teams usually.
Well, I read several articles today and was talking about this, how he changed as his career went on. That he may have trash talked the whole time, but things got worse toward the end.
Yeah.
Well,
And, in Minnesota, like you said, you didn't hear that stuff. Toward the end, he was not very popular with a lot of the players and stuff. And it wasn't just trash talk. There was other things going on. And but it was all much later in his career.
I mean, I know he spoke to a lot about his high school teammates, Ronnie Fields. They were supposed to go pro 1 year after the other, and then he got in a car accident and couldn't play. And then who was it? Stephon Marbury comes to town, and then they trade him, and they were really close. And then Malik Sealy comes to town, and he wears number 21 because he watched Malik Sealy and thought he was the coldest dude. I idolize this guy. I'm going to wear 21 like him. Sealy gets to the Timberwolves, and he's on cloud nine. They instantly bond. They go out to KG's birthday party. They don't drink. They don't get crazy or anything. Garnett goes home, and Sealy dies in a car wreck that night. And Garnett openly said, after that moment, I had nothing to do with anyone because everything that got close to me got destroyed. And that was kind of the clicking point of his career where it was just like...
Jackie McMullen talked about this pretty in depth. She said that Garnett has insane trust issues, but once you get to the point where he trusts you, he's ride or die.
Yep.
So he had some friends from high school and stuff that kind of faded away, and he was really lonely and all these things, and he found Marbury, and him and Marbury were tight. But it wasn't just that Marbury got traded. It was that Marbury asked to get traded because of Garnett.
Correct.
Because of contract.
And that's
Yes.
what it was. It had nothing to do with the player Garnett or the person Garnett. It was jealousy.
But the problem is, it wasn't Garnett or the Timberwolves' fault. Garnett, like C-Web, that was rules for rookie contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So after his second year in the league, Garnett held out and got a 6-year, $120 million contract, which then was asinine. Insane. Yeah, we're talking this was like 2000, 99, 2000?
It was, I think it was even earlier than that.
He came in 95.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so it would have been like 97.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so 97, and he got $120 million. Well, that offseason, they passed a new rule capping what you could make at that point. So Marbury couldn't make what he made. So they gave Marbury the max, which was 101.
Mm-hmm.
But he was $20 million less than Garnett, and he threw a fit about it and demanded a trade. And he still had power because, they were free. They could opt out after their second year in their contract as a rookie. So they had to trade him, and they traded him for Terrell Brandon, who was
Probably his best teammate in Minnesota ever.
but he was only there for a year and a half.
I know. He was in the All-Star twice for
Terrell
Minnesota.
Brandon was good.
He was, and then he blew out his knee,
Right.
and that was it. Here's the other thing, though. They signed Chauncey Billups the year Terrell Brandon blows out his knee. Okay, and Chauncey Billups is there, and at the halfway when he blows out his knee, like 33 games in the season or whatever, Chauncey Billups takes over and balls out. Okay, so Chauncey Billups is a free agent at the end of the season.
What do
He
you
comes
think
to him and
happens?
says, "I love playing with Garnett. Re-sign me." And Minnesota's response is, "We have Terrell Brandon. We don't need you." He signs with the Pistons and goes on that run with the Pistons.
Right.
So this is the big rabbit hole. What if, you could keep going on the what ifs a lot about Garnett.
Mm-hmm.
You really could. I think the dude caught lucky and unlucky breaks. Whenever he came into the league, who mentored him? Mikhail.
Yeah.
Which, whoa, holy crap! If a big man's going to mentor a big man, that's the guy you want mentoring you. But then to be run by such a crappy franchise, man, they screwed that guy out of the prime of his career for sure.
Well, and we haven't even got into the worst parts about this yet.
I know, and I kind of wanted to.
But it's crazy the way they mishandled that point guard situation. You're looking at 3 point guards, all 3 of them multi-time All-Stars. Chauncey Billups might be a Hall of Famer. Might be. I don't know.
He's on that.
Yeah, he's a bubble guy, I think. Stephon Marbury went on to have a really nice career. We all make fun of him because he's kind of a
China.
He's the best player China's ever seen.
yeah. But I mean, he's like a 5 or 6 time All-Star. He made some All NBA teams. Things like that. I don't think they would have been Stockton and Malone, but Marbury and Garnett could have been a nice tandem for a long time. Chauncey Billups, are you kidding me? Finals MVP, Chauncey Billups. Those guys would have been good. Those guys would have been so good. And I think Chauncey Billups is better than Stephon Marbury. Especially as far as fitting with Garnett, his outside shooting, his unselfishness,
Defense, man.
defense. Yeah.
Because Garnett, really didn't have any help on defense throughout that run in Minnesota.
You didn't like Rasho Nesterovic?
I mean, I think I read something about Rasho, good old Rasho. They said that after they drafted Rasho Nesterovic, he was the worst analytics center in the NBA every year of his career.
Hey, get this shit. Rasho Nesterovic has a championship. Rasho Nesterovic was a starter for the Spurs on one of their championship teams.
Wow.
Oh, wow. I didn't remember that.
Jeez.
Yes. So is Francisco Alberto.
Roberto. He had some nice hair.
He did. He did. they had the all-hair squad back
You
then.
guys should do
that
top
was when,
50
That
hair.
was when Ginobili had the headband.
Oh,
and
jeez.
Alberto had a headband. All sorts of stuff.
Di was wearing one to fit in. I don't know what was going on.
So let me ask you guys this. I mean, but let's take out Buddy because he's talked about it quite a bit. When you think of Garnett and Minnesota, what teammates come to your mind?
Exactly.
Think of Wally Zerbiak,
Yeah, Zerbiak.
Joe Smith, Trell Brandon, mainly because I'd have all three of these basketball cards for the Timberwolves. So remember you and me used to go through them like on a daily basis. So
Yeah,
they're
no kidding.
mesmerized in my brain. Yeah, that's pretty much about
Yeah.
it. And then
No
obviously I know the Sprewell and Cassell year or two in there where they had some success, but I know they weren't there a long period of time.
Here's my thing, though. Okay, because we were going to get here eventually. The Sprewell Cassell team. That was the year he went to the Western Conference Finals, and then they end up getting rid of the two of them and replacing them with fucking Ricky Davis. And I can't even remember the point guard, but it was some scrub. Ricky Davis at least had a role, but I mean he's not nearly as good as Latrell Sprewell. But anyway, if your best teammates of your career are Latrell Sprewell and Sam Cassell, and I don't dislike either one of them,
Right.
but they're not on the level.
No.
Like,
In that year, they made the Western Conference Final. Cassell got hurt in Game 1 and was out the whole
yeah, he
series.
pulled his groin or something. I
Yeah,
think.
he was,
Yeah.
and it was early Game 1,
Mhm.
you know, and he was out the whole series. So there was no
Well,
chance.
to
They
get-
had no chance.
To get there, they went to a Game 7 with the Kings, and Garnett went 32 and 21 against Chris Webber.
Probably one of the best games I've ever seen him play.
32 and 21, and 5 blocks.
And he said,
Ooh.
in his opinion, that was his. I know that I'm the top dog in this league. You know, whenever he had that game, so that was his breakout game in his head. I know he mentions that.
Well, my big thing was Sam Cassell, because Sam Cassell's not an all-world point guard. I wouldn't even call him great. He's a good, solid point guard. But Garnett needed somebody like that. He needed somebody to be able to run the offense and not make him do it, and somebody that could get him the ball when he got to his spots. That's really what he was asking for. Like, hey, I don't want to be the guy bringing the damn ball up the floor. Because when Cassell went down, Garnett brought the ball up
That's
the
what
floor
was
the rest of the
happening.
series.
Yeah, that's what was happening.
I think he really needs, I think, Sprewell too, because he also needed help scoring the ball.
Well, he did, yeah.
Sprewell was really good, actually. He
Well,
was really good.
Sprewell's got some All-Star games under his belt.
He had that first team All-NBA. Or
He
was it
d-
second team?
He made it all NBA, but it was with the Warriors. I remember that.
Yeah,
but
it was
I don't
early
remember which
on.
team it was.
Yeah, it wasn't with Timberwolves. I'm just saying how he was a really good player.
Mhm.
He was good with the Knicks. He was good.
Whenever you get double teamed every possession because you're the only guy
That's
on
what I'm saying.
you know,
Like,
like,
it's Sprewell to
you
help
need
score the ball.
someone to kick it out to.
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
Well, then once you add Cassell and Sprewell, Zerbiak has a nice role.
Right. Then
Because
he can do his thing.
He's a spot-up shooter. That's what he does. But he can't be the second best player on your team.
No.
No.
And really, I know this isn't really about KG, but Sam Cassell, he's just a really good quality point guard. And everywhere he went, they won. When he started in Houston, they won championships. He helped KG make the Western Conference Finals. He helped Elton Brand make the second round of the playoffs, which was the farthest the Clippers had ever been at that time. He helped. I'm missing one.
He was
He helped the
Ron.
Bucks make the Eastern Conference Finals with
He
Ray
is.
Allen.
He was also Rondo's backup in Boston when they won the championship.
Everywhere he went, he helped everyone get better.
Listen to Cassell's stats from the 03-04 season. 35 minutes a game, 19.8 points, 7.3 assists.
It's a baller.
Not
Yeah.
bad for the second guy on the team at all,
Yeah.
you know. And
Do you know off the top of your head what Sprewell's were?
yeah, 38 minutes a game, 16.8 points. I don't have the rebounds or the assists, but I know he averaged around one steal a game. Steal.
Sprewell was a pretty decent defender in his day.
I'm surprised he wasn't scoring more at that time. I know when he was younger, he scored more than that.
Oh,
Pretty
sorry. Zerbiak had 10 points, and Michael Olowokandi had 6.
Olowokandi. sighting. I think that's his
Yeah,
first
man.
podcast mention, I think.
Yeah. Also played with Elton Brand.
He did.
Yeah.
I heard that's what made Elton Brand.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Oh yeah.
That's just what I read. I don't know.
Oh man. All right. Well, buddy, shall we break into some of this more in depth into this Timberwolves stuff real quick
Yeah, it's
before we get too far away from
it's
it?
pretty bad. No, I do want to bring up kind of Garnett really did change a lot of things in the NBA, especially when it comes to a high schooler going pro. I know we've seen Moses do it and Daryl Dawkins do it, but it's been at least 20 years at this point before a high schooler has come out and went straight to pro. And I know he was trying to find a college to go to. He got in trouble at in South Carolina, and then Malden High School in South Carolina, and he transferred to Farragut Academy in Chicago. And at this time, there was a lockout going on in the NBA. And what was the big team in 94, 93, 95? What was the biggest team in the NBA at that time?
Chicago Bulls.
Chicago Bulls. No NBA basketball going on. You got Farragut Academy with one of the number one players in the nation, Kevin Garnett, teaming up with Ronnie Fields, who was a boss. I don't know if you guys know much about him. He was electric. And they took over the basketball in Chicago. I'm sure Mark, if he was here, he could tell you a lot more about the team and the makeup and just really how much they took over Chicago and how much love fair they got because the NBA was on lockout. So now his high school career is coming to an end, and he's trying to get into a college, and he can't pass the ACTs. He can't pass the SATs, and he's really freaking out, like not knowing what to do. And his buddy says, "Hey man, let's just go play a game of pickup basketball. Let's get your mind off of it. Let's just go play ball." And they decide to go to this gym, and what did the players do in the lockout? They still played basketball. And the gym they go to, it's full, it's popping, something's going on in there. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, a bunch of other NBA players are playing basketball, and they're staring in the window like, holy shit, it's Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. And one of the security guards knocks on the window, and he's fully expecting them to tell him to get out. They're like, "Big man, get down here." And he's like, "Holy shit, give me my shoes, give me my shoes, give me my shoes." And he goes on to the court, and the first thing he says is, "Yeah, motherfuckers, you ready? Yeah, motherfuckers, you ready?" And he goes in there and he balls out. He is holding his own against NBA players. And who's sitting on the sideline? Isaiah Thomas. As we know, Isaiah Thomas isn't playing at this time. He's a GM for the
Knicks?
before,
That's before the Knicks.
yeah,
It's the Raptors.
the Raptors. Okay, and he says, "Young fella, come here. Keep in mind, Garnett's talking shit this whole game. You ready for the business? You ready for, And they're like, "Who the hell do you think you are?" And he's like, "I'm about to show you who I am. I'm about to show you who I am." And Isaiah Thomas said, "You could go pro right now, dude." He's like, "What? You can do that?" He's like, "Oh yeah, you can do that." He's like, "Tell me what I need to do." And he kind of mentored Garnett and pushed him towards going pro. And that's where he made his decision to go pro, because he had $200 to last him the next 2 months, and he had no idea where he was going to get cash. He had no idea if he was even going to pass his ACTs and be able to play college ball. So he's like, "Screw it, I'm going pro." And that was, a lot of people's eyes were like, I don't know. That drew a big controversy, but honestly, I think it was a good choice for him in the long term. He did end up passing his ACT and SATs. Didn't have him to score back.
He scored a 980 on the SAT.
Right, and he wasn't sure if he was going to pass or not, so he just went, "I'm going for it. I'm just going to go for it." So it's a real crazy story how he got there and the decision that he made to do it. And he was playing at 18 years old against the pros and holding his own in the gym, which was really cool.
Mike has always really good things to say about KG. Mike liked KG. And to add to what you were saying, the plan was for KG
and Paul Pierce to play college ball together in Maryland.
Really?
And then KG decided to forego college, and Pierce ended up at Kansas.
So I was trying to say, how did he end up in Kansas then?
Well, he wanted to go to Maryland to play with KG because KG was dead set on going to Maryland.
Oh, okay.
But then once KG wasn't going there, he didn't want to go to Maryland anymore. So he went up to Kansas. Why he went to Kansas, I don't know. I didn't look into it.
Because of Jock Vaughn, that's why.
Well, Buddy and I have actually had a conversation about this previously because it's actually worse than I even remembered.
Oh, and I think I got a story that's going to blow your mind about it because it's even worse than what I thought.
But the Minnesota Timberwolves, after they drafted Kevin Garnett, made an absolute mockery of the draft for almost a decade.
And even years after that. Steph Curry, anyone?
Yeah.
Did they draft 2-point guards?
They
Michael
Michael
Flynn
and Johnny Flynn.
Yeah, Johnny Flynn. Yeah, not Michael
Both
Flynn.
are for Curry.
Yeah, that's a popular one.
Hey,
Everyone knows that.
they drafted Brandon Roy and then traded him for Randy Foy.
Yeah, I'll get into that. Just
Yeah.
Oh my god.
slow your- it's so bad. But yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off. It's
go ahead, buddy, because I know you have a lot more information than I do. Because this was your thing.
So KG was drafted in 95-96. He was the number 5 overall pick. They had 26 wins at the time. As you mentioned earlier, they never broke 30. In 96, they drafted Ray Allen. Good pick. They immediately traded him for Marbury, which they wanted more of a point guard for the shooting guard instead of the shooting guard to give him the 1-2 punch. They thought it was going to work out. Okay?
We discussed the Marbury situation. So we know how that ended.
Right. Where did if you can look it up real quick, where did Ray Allen get drafted in that draft? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but he went.
Milwaukee?
Yeah,
No,
I
mean-
remember what position.
It's fairly high because wasn't he pretty touted out of UConn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He went 5th.
Okay. What position did Kobe go in?
Kobe was like down the teens.
That was like 18th, I think.
I got it pulled up here. Hold on just a second.
Interesting.
Kobe went 13th.
Yeah.
Steve
Okay,
Nash
so-
later in that draft
Hold on,
too.
I got you right here. So Ray Allen went 5th. The next pick was Antoine Walker.
All-star.
Then 2 picks later was Kerry Kittles. Then Kobe went at 13. Peja Stojakovic went at 14. Nash 15. Jermaine O'Neal 17.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that combo down low?
Yeah, and they were both versatile. So it wasn't like you were
Exactly.
like a bunch of bumbling guys down there.
And both defensive monsters. So
Yeah.
you would not get in the paint against those two.
I'm just saying the Allen Marbury trade draft, that one's probably the most understandable of what's about to come.
Yeah. Yeah.
In 97, they drafted Paul Grant. Who?
Yeah.
He averaged 1.8 points and 1.1 rebounds for his career. Solid choice. Steven Jackson and Bobby Jackson were kind of the most notable guys after that, which doesn't seem like that 97 draft class was super stacked. They might have some guys up at the top that, before Paul Grant.
By the way, Paul Grant went 20th in the draft. So why they were 20th, I don't know, because I didn't think they were that good. But after him at 20, Anthony Parker, who had a nice long career in the league, went the very next pick. Bobby Jackson went 2 picks later.
Yeah.
Charles Smith went at 26.
Okay.
Jock Vaughn went 27. Keith Booth went 28. None of these guys are ballers, but they had 10-year NBA
Right.
careers.
They're better than 1.8 points and 1.1 rebounds.
Yeah. They're all better than that.
So in 98, the infamous Rasho Nesterovic shows up. They said he is analytically and statistically the worst center in the NBA every year of his career after he got drafted, which is, you'd think he'd have like a second worst in there, but no, he was the worst every year. The notable guys signed after him were drafted after him, Al Harrington, Rashard Lewis, and Katino Mobley. So,
Those are all 3 really good basketball.
right. And can you imagine Rashard Lewis on there too with the length and the and been nasty. And Al Harrington was solid too. In '99, in '98 they signed Joe Smith, which is very big and very important. Okay, it's going to bring up some issues for the said Timberwolves here very shortly. The signing of Joe Smith.
Very, very big issues.
In '99, they drafted Wally Zerbiak, which he was a solid contributor to the Timberwolves, but I think they didn't really. They expected a lot more of him than what he was really capable of doing. He was deserved for a different role on that team than what they were expecting, I think.
Well, if you in certain years, if you just said Wally Zerbiak, you got him at 6, and he had a 15-year NBA career and was averaging 15 points a game through the middle of his career, you'd have been like, I can accept that. That's a nice role player. But the problem is the very next pick is Richard Hamilton,
Rip Hamilton,
Andre Miller, Sean
Marion,
Marion, Jason Terry. Those are the next 4 picks, not just like throughout the draft. The next 4 picks. Then 2 picks later is Corey Maggette. Yeah, sorry,
Andre Kirilenko even later.
Metal War Peace is at 16.
It's nuts.
Wow.
They missed on the draft. No, I was just saying it with you to emphasize how horrible they are. They've missed so much on every draft that they participated in, it seems like. I mean, I think the only thing they got right was Garnett and Towns. So, in 2000, 2001, and 2002, they didn't have a draft pick. You say, how the hell do you lose a draft pick? In 2003, they didn't have a draft pick either. And in 2004, they did not have a draft pick. 5 straight years of not having a draft pick? Why the hell would Garnett leave? I don't know. You can't build a team because of the salary cap restrictions, and he signed a massive salary, and then they put a cap on it and kind of constrict. So what's the best way to build a team is draft young talent with cheap contracts and build, okay, or trade those assets. Well, they lost all 5 of their draft picks because back in 1998, they signed Joe Smith. What do we know about Joe Smith? He was the number 1 overall pick in said 1995 draft. Well, he's a kind of touted free agent at the time, and the Timberwolves really didn't have a lot of money, but they said, hey, Joe, sign this contract for the next 3 years for, let's say, $1 million. And then we'll get your bird rights and we'll sign you to a max contract. And he's like, all right, that sounds good. Well, that is highly illegal. They did an under-the-table contract talk with Joe Smith and convinced him to sign very, very small salary so they could build the team, and they got busted. And they lost their draft picks for 5 straight years.
David Stern came in and took them.
I forgot about that. Man.
Yeah, because they were not only did they have him sign a 1-year contract so they could get his bird rights, they paid him $15 million under the table.
Under the table.
Wow.
Damn.
So not only were they crooked, they were bad at it.
And and I think Mikhail went out and said, like, there's dozens of teams or plenty of teams that do this. We're just bad at it. It's like, yeah, you're pretty bad. So they eventually got one of their draft picks back in 2004. They traded that 2004 draft pick for a 2003 draft pick. So they're like, okay, we'll give you a 2004 draft pick, and they're like, well, we got a guy. We need to trade, and we need to get this guy.
Well, hold on. Can I cut in here for a
absolutely.
second? Essentially, I read up on this. Some underlings, some of David Stern's underlings were like, listen, man, this franchise is going to go under if you don't help them. Like, taking away all these draft picks, like, they're gonna shut down. Like, they're gonna go bankrupt. Like, this is not gonna happen. Like, and David Stern gave them one of the draft picks back because essentially people were like, we're gonna ruin this franchise if you don't help them.
So the Timberwolves did the best thing, and they took that 2004 draft pick. They're like, okay, you can have it next year. And they're like, we're going to trade into the draft immediately. You know, we need some help with this franchise. We got a guy, Ndubi Ebi.
Oh my god!
He played 19 career games.
Ndubi Ebi. The savior is here. Yes.
He played 86 career minutes.
So did they even find him?
in the backyard somewhere.
He's from the United Kingdom. He's a 6'9", 200-pound shooting guard. He played 2 years in the league.
You say 6'9", 200 pounds?
Yeah.
I weigh 215. I'm 5'10".
But he only played in 2 games in 04-05, but he averaged 13 and 8.
Boss. where was that in Minnesota? Man. No, so I think kind of what, and then whenever they got their draft pick in 05, they drafted Rashad McCants, okay? And then 06, they drafted Brandon Roy, but, you know, they really needed another point guard, so they traded for Randy Foye instead. So they have never found the point guard. They've never found, you know, any sort of success in the draft.
Well, I will say this. There was a little bit of bad luck involved in a little bit of this because, well, a tiny bit anyway, because Rashad McCants was a stud, and he got kicked out of the NBA.
I thought a couple of those North Carolina guys would be good, and really, were any of them good? I didn't think so. Sean May and all them.
Well, Sean May, I never had.
I think he ate his way out of the league.
Well, he did do that. I never had huge hopes because he was ground bound, and he was like 6'8". You know, he was a tweener.
Was the best one Marvin Williams?
Marvin Williams,
Hansbrough, maybe. I don't know.
We're missing one though. Oh, Ty Lawson and Raymond Felton both had nice careers.
Long, good careers, really.
But Rashad McCants might have been better than all of them if they would just let him play. I mean, before he got kicked out of the league, you're looking at he averaged 15 points a game, 2 rebounds, 2 assists on 45% shooting. It wasn't like
he could score.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he was. He was a scorer. Even in college, he was a scorer. He was an elite scorer in college. But, I mean, once he got to the NBA, he was just a good scorer. I mean, whatever. But, yeah. There was some bad luck involved there. They had no control over what McCants did.
No, I mean, I guess what really gave it away for Joe Smith and why he turned down an $80 million contract to sign a $1 million contract with the Timberwolves. If that does not raise red flags, I don't know, But what I was just kind of getting at, bringing up like the team, how are you ever supposed to succeed in a situation like that? How are you ever supposed to get anywhere? And I mean, he stuck around and stuck around and stuck around and stuck around, just waiting. And I feel terrible that he was in that situation because he was a man possessed, and he had no help whatsoever.
Well, I guess my thing, and I guess I would direct this at you, buddy, is how do you be a fan of this franchise? Like, how do you deal with this and be like, I still want to come back for more?
Because here's the thing, all right? I like the Panthers, and I like in football. I like the Mariners in baseball, and I like the Timberwolves in basketball.
Lots of blue.
Okay, none of them have won a championship, and I know if I say, man, I'm really liking this Hawks team, Timberwolves going to fucking win a championship, and
well, maybe you should do that. Don't mean it. Just be like, hey, I'm a Hawks fan.
You don't want to be that guy that bounces back and forth.
I'm a Magic fan. I get it.
Right. You don't want to say, okay, you invest in a player for 12 years. I have a Celtics Garnett jersey. I have a Brooklyn Nets Garnett jersey. He is my favorite player. Mm-hmm. And whenever I think of him, I think Minnesota. And yes, I'll follow Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns, and Kevin Love is my next favorite player.
You used to really like Ricky Rubio.
I did. I did.
Yeah, and so they're having a decent year this year.
I root
decent. I think they've fallen off a little bit, but they were playing decent.
Up and down. I mean, I root for the guys that are on it because you want to continue to like the team. You know what I mean? I don't like their management by any means, but I still like the players on the team, and you want to root for that. You want to root for them to be successful so you can say, I've liked them since 95. When Carolina went to the Super Bowl in 2004, I was a bandwagon guy, even though I started liking them in 96. I was a little runt. I had a Biaka Batuka jersey running around, and then I was a bandwagon. And whenever they went back to the Super Bowl in 15, I was a bandwagon again. You're like, it's okay. I want to say I stuck around for the championship. I might be dead by the time we see it from Minnesota, but I want to say
I feel
that.
you for that one. I feel you for that one.
So, but I'm not a fan of jumping around. You hear people like, man, I really love them Chiefs. Like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Hallelujah. I'm with you all the way.
know, like-
It annoys the crap out of me.
3 years ago, you liked the Packers. You shut up.
You couldn't name the quarterback before Patrick Mahomes. I guarantee it.
I knew like 3 Chiefs fans really won a Super Bowl, and now I know like 26.
That's
The
exactly
whole
Yeah.
county, the whole
Yeah.
state loves them.
And then whenever, say Minnesota does have a good year, they're making it like, I know a Timberwolves fan, Buddy.
There you
That's
go.
the only one. Don't you all pretend like you are. Buddy is the only true one. Like,
Speaking to your question though, Wade, real quick, the Timberwolves are 12-15 and are ninth seed in the
I thought
West.
they were doing better.
they started off so bad, and they made a good run. And then,
Oh, okay. Because I was listening to Bill Simmons, and he was talking about how it looked like Karl Anthony Towns and Edwards were starting to mesh a little bit, and they were starting to actually play some defense in a couple games.
I
They were
think
looking good.
I think Edwards could be really good if he can.
Edwards, yeah.
And I have one of his jerseys as well. You root for the players on your favorite team.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm that way with the Colts and football.
Holla.
You guys got a championship.
Yeah, so you beat my Bears. Take my championship away during my lifetime.
That's right.
During your lifetime, you're so old.
I know.
Yeah.
So sorry, I went on a big rant there, but I think a lot of the comparison to other NBA players and stuff, I think, like we were talking about, you getting double teamed every possession because, you talk about like Malone. I mean, he played with at least a center that could draw someone away from him and have a threat underneath the basket to just drop it in. Mark Eaton's Bigfoot ass. He has when Nesterovich is you're out or what you're just destined to fail. You're destined to fall into a black hole. But he continued to ball out every year, and he never gave up on the franchise. He never did, and that's what I admire.
Well, I was looking into it before this. They tried to trade him multiple times before this. Before they did trade him to Boston, but he had a full no trade clause, and he wouldn't do it. He's like, no, I want to ride it out here in Minnesota. I want to be the winner here in Minnesota. And finally, he just said, "Forget it. I can't do this anymore."
I think the thing that made him decide like I'm done with this place is he has like a photo of the owner. Can't think of his name. Flip Saunders.
Oh, I was gonna say shit turd, but
Yeah, he's pretty bad. You got Flip Saunders, their head coach at the time, and you got Kevin McHale, and it's a black and white photo, and they're all sitting there in black turtlenecks, and they're all sitting on stools, but they're adjusted to their heights, so their heads are all at even level, and Garnett's sitting there in the picture too, and he is slightly underneath them, and he's like, it kind of clicked in my head that this was the realization that this is the way they view you, is underneath them. And he was just like, that photo spoke to me, and that's whenever I waived the no trade clause.
Well, he also went back there at the end of his career under the promise of being getting partial ownership, and then they backed out on it. And he's vowed never to go back to the state of Minnesota.
Wow.
Even though he still has a house there, but
When we're talking about the trade stuff, he almost went to LA with Kobe.
I heard about that.
Yeah, I read about that a little bit
We
today.
talked in the Nash episode about how they had a trade ready for the Suns to play with Steve Nash and Sean Marion, and Robert Sarver wouldn't sign off on it because he wouldn't pay him.
Yeah. On the thing, he didn't get a chance to talk to Kobe in person because Garnett said he wasn't a big person on going over text, but Kobe was over in China doing stuff, and he wanted to talk to him in person. He never got a chance to talk to him before he got back. And then Kobe was back and he says, "You could have picked anywhere but Boston. Are you kidding me?" And he just went off on KG about it.
It's funny because whenever Kobe was still in high school, he showed up to the NBA gym and was sitting in Garnett's seat like after practice, and he's like, "Who the fuck was sitting in my seat?" And he's like, "Hey man, what's up? I'm Kobe Bryant. What's the league like? What's the league like?" And they actually talked a lot, and he said Garnett was his reason why he came out in the high school. And then you see Jermaine O'Neal coming out of the high school, Mari Stoudemire coming out of the high school. So that was kind of the point I was bringing up earlier, how he revolutionized like straight out of high school move, and Kobe said he saw Garnett do it and was like, "Yep, that's what I'm doing too." So I was actually kind of shocked that they never did play together. But
what was I gonna say? Just lost my train of thought.
I don't know if you could have two alpha dogs like that on the same court, though.
Yeah, because at that time when the trade was going on, I think Kobe won his MVP and Garnett was like third in the voting, and that would have been.
I mean, they had Kobe and Shaq.
Yeah,
that's true.
that worked out beautifully.
Yeah.
And this is even.
But I think Garnett is an alpha, is his mentality and things like that. But him and Kobe don't do the same things on the floor. He was completely okay with not being the leading scorer.
And you're right, and you could see that in Boston.
Yes,
You know,
he took a third wheel scoring wise and didn't have any problem.
And I think Doc Rivers even said like he is the most unselfish player I've ever coached because he will just do whatever it takes. He said I had to force passes to him. I had to tell the guys, pass the ball, move the ball. And Garnett's like, I'm fucking moving the ball, man. He's like, no, we're moving it to you. Stop passing it. He's like, I'm just trying to find the open guy. He's like, you are open, man. So Doc said he was the most unselfish player that he's ever coached, which that's crazy to think about.
Yeah, I mean, he seamlessly, offensively, moved into that third person role, the Bosch or Kevin Love or however you want to look at it, role. But defensively, he was the alpha dog. This is my defense. I anchor this defense. He was, in the back, barking, calling out screens, calling out switches, doing all those things. That's where he really cut his teeth, on the defensive end of the floor.
And he got everyone to buy in, playing defense for that team. You have Rondo and you have Big Baby Davis and Paul Pierce and Ray Allen and Leon Poe and Perkins. And if you look at that team, like Allen, did I say Allen? Tony Allen was on the team.
Tony Allen, yeah.
You look at that team and that is a nasty defensive team, and he got everyone to buy into playing defense on that team. Because if you think before he came there, how many wins did they have? I think it was the biggest turnaround in NBA history. 24 wins the year before, and Garnett gets there and they win the NBA Finals. 66 went from 24 to 66 wins in one season. It's the biggest turnaround in NBA history. I mean, I know they got Ray Allen in there with him, but they essentially traded 7 people for Kevin Garnett. And Rondo says, I didn't even really know who it was, but then whenever they said they traded all my teammates for him, then I knew he was probably pretty good.
Rondo's crazy. Talking about, that team, all those guys talk about how Garnett was the one that brought them together. Like, they were all kind of their own ordeals. None of them really were together as a team. Even, like, part of the way through the season, they weren't, like, a close team or anything. And Garnett wasn't having. Garnett's like, we gotta come together. We gotta work together. We gotta, start doing team stuff. And the only player that never really bought in was Ray Allen. They said Ray Allen spent all of his time with Doc Rivers and Danny Ainge.
Huh.
I've heard multiple of those guys talk about it. Rondo, Pierce, Garnett, all those guys are like, it was hard to tell whether Ray Allen was a player or a management member because he spent all of his time playing golf and stuff with Danny Ainge.
I got a question for you guys. You guys debated a bit. Do you hold the championship with Boston against Garnett, jumping teams or making a super team or anything like that? Do you hold that championship against him based on, I know Ewing stuck around forever in New York and other guys sticking around forever, but do you hold that Boston one against him? Do you look at it as kind of like a Kevin Durant weak flex, or do you kind of look at it as like, man, I would have done the same damn thing? How do you guys feel about it?
That's the one I don't hold against anybody because that was smart moves for everybody involved. So that's the one I'm kudos to everybody on that team. For all the other ones, I have negative thoughts about everybody else, but that's probably the smart move for everybody involved on the Celtics team.
I don't think I hold it against him because he stayed in Minnesota for years and years, and after they did all that stupid stuff, I think he just finally, like you said in that picture, he just saw how they weren't getting him any help year after year, so he just said he wanted to do it before he ran out of juice. So I'm fine with his.
I find it somewhere in between. I definitely don't hold it against him. Like, like I'm like, well, it doesn't count or something like that. But I also, whether right or wrong, think it's different when a team brings guys together and when they do it on their own. I do look at it differently the way LeBron and D Wade and those guys did it, or the way it happened with Durant or whatever the case may be, or even the second time around with LeBron or the third time around with LeBron. But I do view it differently. I think there's a different mentality there with the players, but they were stacked, for better, less, a different term, or whatever.
I mean, I'm never going to discredit anyone for winning the championship. That's what you're supposed to do.
Gary Payton.
Gary Payton.
That's not a fucking
But he knew.
6 points a game out here. Never mind. There's one person I'll discredit.
What about Rasho Nesterovic?
I don't even know who that is.
He is the worst analytics center.
Let's go on to that. But the only thing that really sticks with me with the Garnett championship is, especially when I'm like comparing him to other great big men, I think there's a lot of them that could have won that championship if they're on that team. Like, I think if those teams have Karl Malone, I think they might win 2 or 3. Barkley, maybe not Barkley, because Barkley could be somewhat of a liability on defense. But I mean, Malone was much better offensive player than Garnett, and he was an All-NBA defender as well. I mean, just stuff like that. I don't know. That's kind of how I view it.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I'm kind of like Alex, kind of in between. I don't know. To me, it kind of started the super team thing. I don't hold it against Garnett because I don't blame him for wanting out of Minnesota.
It was bad.
No.
It was terrible. And there's been a lot of guys that have gone for championships at the end of their career.
Karl Malone.
Right. Yeah. And so.
Gary Payton.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, a few of the guys we just talked about, Barkley, Scottie Pippen, those guys, they all joined forces to try and win a championship at the end there.
So
Pippen was getting greedy. He already had 6.
He wanted
Real
one
greedy.
more than Mike. Yeah, he wanted one more than Mike.
Real greedy. Then he went to Portland when they were good.
Yeah.
He was with them when they made
Those runs.
Western Conference Finals run.
Yeah.
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 That team with Sheed and Sabonis and what was it, Ruben Patterson? Because he was a Kobe stopper.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Kobe stopper.
Damon Stoudemire, was he the point?
Damon Stoudemire, yep. And then they had off the bench, they had a couple
Young Jermaine
Bonzi
O'Neal.
Wells, young Jermaine O'Neal.
Did they have young Zebo?
Zebo probably would have been there, but I don't know if he was playing yet. Like, I think he was on the team, but I don't think they played him.
Could be.
It was the Jailblazers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they tried to beat up on the Lakers during all that.
Hey, that I don't remember which season it was, but that series came down to the wire. Like, they went Game 7 one of those years with the Lakers.
One year they went 7, and the next year the Lakers swept them.
yeah.
Because it wasn't it the year after the Kings took them 7? Didn't they go 7 with the Kings and then 7 with the Blazers? Or was there a year in between there?
I think it was. I think the first championship was 7 with the Blazers, and then they sweep everyone. That's the year when they go 16-1,
Mm.
and then I think the next year they go 7 with the Kings. I think.
That might be true because the first year they would have played the Pacers, right?
Yeah,
in the finals.
They played the Pacers,
and then Philly.
Sixers, and then Jason Kidd. And
The Nets. Yeah. Okay. All right.
I got an interesting thing before we get into Alex's litigation. Kevin Garnett was asked if he could build a team of 13 or a team of 12. Who would you take? So, who do you think Garnett took as his point guard? of all time, any era.
Magic.
Magic. Okay. Who do you think?
I thought it was going to be somebody like off the wall.
I was waiting for Bob Cousy.
Okay. So who do you think he took at his shooting guard?
Kobe.
Kobe was number 2. Who do you think he took at number 3? This is his starting 5.
Did he shift Jordan up to 3?
Nope.
Nope. KD.
Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the length with Durant and Garnett playing together?
He said that he said, "I'm playing the fucking 4." And number 5,
Shaq Daddy.
Elijah Wan.
I was on a roll.
you were so close.
Kareem.
Will Chamberlain. You imagine that starting 5? And then he said he'd have Pistol on the bench with AI coming behind him.
Oh, yeah.
Glenn Robinson, Rasheed Wallace, Shaq. Imagine that, your bench player. And then he'd say my 11th guy would be Vince Carter. And you notice someone that's off this list right now?
MJ.
MJ. He's like, I guess I got to put him on there. So he made him his 12th man. He said, and this was his quote, they're like, why would you, have these guys and not these guys, kind of like what you guys do? He's like, he's like, my guys will go out and compete. My guys are fucking dogs. And we'll beat your ass.
Hell yeah.
We will beat your ass.
Can you imagine the shenanigans that would go on a team with Will and Shaq?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
They'd just be trying to beat each other during practice. How big their egos were. That would...
Well, no, that's not true because Will didn't practice.
And
I'm being serious.
Neither does AI.
Will refused to practice for the majority of his career.
And you say Glenn Robinson?
Yeah.
And
That is
Shaq
an
was showing up
oddball
at 340. Eating McDonald's every day.
He said Glenn Robinson was the hardest guy to guard coming into the league because he could just stretch the floor on him and,
Here's the thing, man. Glenn Robinson was the number 1 overall draft pick, and he was really good until he blew out his knee.
Yeah.
He said,
like 20 to 23 points per game scorer for quite a while,
Let's look this up real quick.
or at least for a few
Yeah, he
years.
said-
I love Glenn Robinson, and it's like, when you said that and he picked Glenn, I'm like, that is such an off-the-wall pick from anybody.
Because Glenn Robinson was the lead dog on that Bucks team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm pulling him up right now. So his career points per game average is 20.
All right.
So
after all those injuries and stuff, and bringing it down,
so his rookie season, he averaged 22 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal on 45%. Then he went, so he went 22, 20, 21, 23, 18, 21, 22, 20, 20, 16, 10, retired.
I was pretty much spot on. I like it.
He's the career averages of 20 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal on 46% shooting.
Wasn't he kind of a heftier guy?
Yes.
A little hefty.
Let's see what the guy I'm listed at.
Kind of has
145.
I have him listed at 6'7", 225. But I don't think there's any way Glenn Robinson was 225.
Kind of has that like flabby Luka Doncic body.
Yeah, or
Just flabby. Just flabby.
or kind of mellow, or Paul Pierce.
At certain stages, yeah.
Yeah.
At
You know,
certain times in
Luka
their career.
showed up last year weighing over 265 pounds.
Dude, he showed up fat this year too. And
Yeah.
he played in the
Last
Olympics
year.
all off season.
And
I
he'd
guess-
still go out there and ball.
They said he's become absolutely positively obsessed with barbecue food because he never had it until he came over here. And they said before every game he's eating all this food in the locker room.
And
And drinking milkshakes.
I'd get
sweet
sick.
tea.
Oh,
His new
geez.
obsession.
Sweet tea, yeah,
sweet
yeah.
tea. He chugs sweet tea before every game. He drinks it he puts in his water bottles for the game. Like he's just out there drinking
We're
sweet
talking
tea.
Southern sweet tea.
Yeah, we're talking
real syrupy.
Like he's still doing this stuff. Like not his rookie season. Like right now, he's doing some of this stuff right now.
I'm established. It's okay.
Yeah. Ooh.
He's but we haven't even talked about the real deal here.
Zion.
Zion's gonna eat himself out the league.
Oh yeah,
He has to be.
There was an article that
300.
popped up on the basketball website. I saw it. It says, should the Pelicans just go ahead and trade him now? I was like, honestly, maybe.
Yes.
Didn't he just
He's
have
never-
another setback?
Yeah, another setback because
He's never gonna play.
they said they have him at 335.
He's
coming off
he's my left
foot
guard.
surgery. He's trying to come off foot surgery with 335, and they said he's falling asleep in meetings and in tape sessions, and he's eating trash all the time.
And trying like therapy and stuff.
Yeah, and they said they can't make him do basketball workouts because they're afraid of what it'll do to his foot.
Right. Oh yeah.
Well,
that
he's put on like 40 more pounds since his surgery.
Well, this is what his third or fourth year in the league. Third.
I think third.
Yeah,
He's played, I believe, like 85 games in 3 years.
Whenever he came into the league, he was the heaviest basketball player in the NBA.
Yeah.
That's what they had him listed as.
Yeah.
Even I think he weighed less than Boban.
Last
that
year
was
he
it.
did, yeah.
Oh.
Now, I mean, shit. He's probably
I
heavier
had
than
him
the
at
whole
280.
China team.
I'm trying to think off the top of my
But
head.
he's played 3 years in the league, and he has a total of 85 games.
Is that what it says?
I don't remember how many you said.
Spot on.
Waste of talent.
Overhyped, overrated, full of shit. I just don't know what to say about this guy.
They say
Like,
he's
it's just-
6'6",
it's just
284.
ridiculous.
When he played offensively, he was very good.
Yeah.
But he was a complete and utter liability on defense. and he
Turnstile.
can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
Besides when he goes and jumps someone's 3-pointer.
He'll get a flashy block and then give up
That's-
38
yeah.
points.
And that's all you see on the highlights.
Yeah.
Right.
And
It's just
his dunks.
Yeah.
No, last year he played 61 games,
Mm.
which is if you get 61 games out of him every year, you'd probably be happy as shit at this point.
That's what the Sixers got him beat every year.
That's what Kawhi Leonard plays.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
like,
he's like a 35th greatest player ever.
yeah. Oh boy,
Get out of here.
How it fucking works.
But anyway, he averaged 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists on 61% shooting.
Offensively, he was a beast.
Offensively,
I remember games
he
where he would
was.
go like 14 for 15.
Yeah.
You know, like
But the problem is, and Van Gundy talked about this, you had to pick your spots when to give him the ball because he was so out of shape, he would get winded all the time.
reminds me of Jamarcus Russell.
There you go. Wow.
Just a number 1 pick that he was
Didn't he
so
the ball?
hyped, and then
He showed he was fat as hell. He showed
Didn't
up
they
with
give him
like
tapes?
3.
Didn't they give him tapes that were blank? And
Yeah.
then they said, "Oh yeah, I watched it."
They asked him
Like,
if he ever watched them. He's
that
like,
was a
"Yeah."
great game plan. Great game plan, coach.
He's an idiot.
But
That's a great comparison. I like that.
Yeah,
everybody has been bagging on all the coaches that come through New Orleans. Now guys are going after David Griffin hard because they were thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread when he made the trade with got all the stuff for Anthony Davis, and then he drafted Zion Williamson, and they're like, oh, he's going to the playoffs. Zion's rookie year. Now everybody's turned on Griff and said it's Griff's fault. Here's the thing: if Zion don't play, it doesn't matter what the fuck the coach or Griff does.
Right.
Yeah.
If Zion doesn't play, it
Exactly.
doesn't do any good.
Yeah.
And here's my thing: Brandon Ingram and Zion shouldn't be playing together.
I agree.
and who's gonna take the blow of it if Zion sucks or doesn't play? The coach.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's not
I mean,
their fault for drafting.
They've had 3 coaches in 3 years because the first one they're like, oh, we gotta get him out of town because he didn't do well. Last year it was, oh, Zion doesn't like him because he's a defensive coach and wanted Zion to play defense. And they got him shipped out of town, and now they got Willie Green. And they were talking to, I can't remember who it was the other day. Maybe it was Mark Jackson. Was like, really? Willie Green getting his first coaching job for this team was a setup. He's gonna hurt his career. Like he may not get another coaching job for years because of this team.
Wasn't the first one Alvin Gentry?
I think you're right.
Yeah, it was.
He's
Yeah.
a good coach.
Didn't he make the playoffs and then they fired him the next
Right.
year?
Yeah,
I think
he's
so.
a good. I think he's been a good coach for quite a while for a couple different teams.
Yeah, Alvin Gentry's a hell of a guy.
Isn't he coach? Isn't he somebody's interim right now?
Maybe I'm not sure where he's at right now.
Is he Sacramento's? Because when they fired Luke Walton, didn't they give it to Alvin Gentry for the rest of the season?
I mean, it's possible.
They may have.
Yeah.
I know he was someplace in the league. I saw him on TV the other night.
Either way, they're going to blame him for the whole Zion thing. They say, "Oh, Zion's going to be a bust," and all of a sudden they don't draft him, and then he becomes great. They're like, "Oh, why didn't you draft him?" But now it's flip flop the other way.
He's at the Kings.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The Griffin guy, the GM,
Mhm.
I think he has made some dumb moves.
Well, the Lonzo Ball move was
And
ridiculous.
Drew Holiday before that.
Drew Holiday.
Both stupid. Like you said, Ingram and Zion should not be playing together. There's 3 really stupid moves, and he's only been there for like 2 years.
Well, I
2
think
years.
bringing Ingram in wasn't stupid, just over the fact he was getting the best talent the Lakers could offer in that trade.
Okay.
But then now in year 3, you realize they can't play together. You got to move one of them.
Yeah.
You can't move an injured player, so it's probably got to be Ingram.
Isn't he the one that just went out and got Steven Adams on a big contract?
He signed Steven Adams and traded him for Valanciunas. And
Yeah.
and Steve Adams is having like a career resurgence in Memphis.
Yeah.
It's
just it's been 4 or 5 bad moves in a couple of years.
Here's the thing with Zion, though. You have to play a legit center with him because he's a terrible defender and he doesn't block shots. So you have to have a guy that can rim protect and block shots. But he can't shoot a lick, so you have to have a guy that stands out in three-point land.
He has to spread the floor.
There's very few guys that are great defenders and shoot threes. Usually the great defender guys stay in the paint.
Right.
But you have a couple of them in the league. Miles Turner is a three-point
Sabonis,
shooter.
maybe.
Maybe. He's not really a great defender.
Let's just put this down here right now. Miles Turner is not a three-point shooter. He can make three-pointers, but he is not a three-point shooter.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Don't like Turner right now, right?
I love Turner, but he is not a three-point shooter.
I couldn't tell.
He's definitely a shot
He
blocker.
shoots threes.
He shoots
That's for
38% from three.
But we've had this argument before. Let's just move on from here because the Pacers are in disarray, and I don't want to get into
They
it.
are. They are in disarray. And Miles Turner is at the center of that.
Yeah.
I think he pretty much demanded a trade without demanding a trade the other day.
So, yeah, anyway.
But
The
anyway,
Pelicans.
there are a couple of them in the league, but there's not a ton of them in the league.
No.
So I guess what I'm saying is you have to go out and get a very, very specific center to play with him. Valanciunas, who is good, is not him.
Do you think Anthony Davis staying there would have been the perfect fit for him?
Well, they wouldn't have the Zion pick without Anthony Davis, or with Anthony Davis, but Anthony Davis, I think Anthony Davis is proving this year that he can't play center. First off, I think Anthony Davis bulked up too much and it's hurting him. He's not the same player he has been. His jump shot is god-awful. He doesn't move well right now. So either he's hurt or he's put on too much weight.
He's always hurt.
He's playing with LeBron. That's what's hurting him.
Yeah.
Well, LeBron's only there about half the time. So,
In spirit of LeBron is hurting him.
So first off, when Russell Westbrook is still in the league and you're the worst jump shooter in the league, that's saying something. I don't know that Anthony Davis fixes this problem. In theory,
Right.
it would be cool. It'd be really cool. I just don't think it works.
I guess I thought the number one draft pick, I forgot that it came from trading Anthony Davis. So, my bad.
But I don't think even if it didn't though, Anthony Davis was refusing to play. So I mean, I don't know if that fence was mendable between Anthony Davis and the Pelicans.
If you're a GM, do you take the chance on Zion? You give up 2 first-round picks. Do you take that chance on him?
Just 2 first-rounders? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Well, you got to clear up cap space, so you got to get rid of your star player, one of your star players too.
I wouldn't want him.
We don't have to clear up cap space because he's on a rookie deal, so he's cheap right now.
Well, it's what, already year? You said already year 3.
Yeah, they got 2 more years.
We're getting there, yeah.
I wouldn't want him. I personally would not want anything to do with him. I don't
Well,
think he'll ever play.
let's say this. Let's use one of the 3 worst teams in the league are Oklahoma City, Orlando, and Detroit. So if you're one of those 3 teams, you have, especially Detroit, you have nothing going for you. You're not even young. You just suck.
He's going to sell tickets for you.
Like, would you not take a chance on Zion for 2 firsts?
No.
No, I wouldn't.
You don't think so?
Not now.
I literally don't think he's going to play.
I want
I
to
mean,
see him
I
play
don't
a
think
basketball game this year before I trade for
I mean,
him.
if you're talking about the worst teams, those draft picks could be number 1, number 2, number 3.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
It could be.
Yeah.
I'll say a big man with weight issues and foot problems.
That is
that's
very fair.
Who's a god awful defender.
That is a kiss of death in NBA history. It is true.
Yeah.
I just don't. I have no faith in him being able to play down the road at all.
And the big thing that started this rabbit hole is he had that press conference where he talked about, man, I'd love to play in, New York. And then after that, it just went fucking shit, the shit show, and he just never showed up anymore.
I'm going to tell you right now, if they offered the Knicks Zion for 2 firsts, the Knicks would do it tomorrow.
Well, fuck yeah.
Then that's who the Knicks are.
Oh, yeah.
That is the Knicks franchise almost our entire lives. Maybe not Uncle Doug's entire life, but the rest of our entire lives. That is who the Knicks have been. If they were offered Zion today, the deal would be done.
Well, 2000 plus Knicks. If it was the 90s Knicks, they weren't doing that shit.
Well, yeah, they would. They would
Well,
do
they
it. They wouldn't trade Ewing, but they put shit around Ewing.
Do they have the assets to do it now?
They'd have to include Randall, I think.
Yeah.
But Randall makes too much money, so then you'd have to find somebody else from the Pelicans to go into
know
it.
if they would improve.
Are you going to make me bust out the trade machine on the podcast?
I don't see Zion going anywhere and really making them better.
You're like
I
Ron.
just don't see it.
Madden
I'm not saying
right
they'd be
now.
better.
Trying
I'm
to
saying that's a
draft
big
on
jump.
them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You know, if the Knicks had to throw in 2 firsts and the Quickly kid and
You'll probably throw
something
in
else.
Rose.
If you
Throw
can-
Rose.
If you can keep in your cornerstone through Randall and Barrett, then go for it. But there's no way you're going to get out of that trade with both of your 2 best players still on your
here's
team.
my thing. If Philadelphia is saying we're not trading Ben Simmons for anybody that's not a top 30 player and multiple picks, what are the New Orleans going to expect that of Zion?
Right.
Philly will snap out of that, I think, in the next month or 2.
The freaking Lakers
No,
are talking about
Let me
getting Simmons.
okay. So let me say this then, because I'm more likely to go the other way, Wade, and here's why.
I think so.
Because I think we're closer to Philly getting what they want because we have so many teams already going into desperation mode, including Portland.
The problem is the Sixers are going to be in desperation mode here soon because they're only a couple games above 500, and Embiid's been hurt a lot, so they
Well,
need
Embiid
a
has been
star
hurt a
player.
lot.
Yeah,
It's the process, dude.
the process
they're
is a
doing-
long process.
They're doing this on purpose.
They're like, I think 3 or 4 games above 500, like decent, but
I'm pulling it up. Hold on.
weren't they like the number 1 seed last year?
They were the number 1 seed
Yeah,
last
they
year.
lose to the Hawks in the semifinals.
They shouldn't have lost to the Hawks.
They are
No.
15 and 14, and
Oh,
they're the
so-
8 seed right
So,
now.
see what I
So
mean?
not even and they have to play the Hawks again.
Yeah.
the first
see,
game for the
so, I
play-in.
mean, you really going to waste your prime years of Joel Embiid when you don't even know how many prime years you're going to get out of him?
But here's my thing. I don't disagree with anything you just said. I don't want to waste any of Embiid's prime, especially he's been injury prone, so we don't know how long we got.
Yeah.
But he is special. But it does trading Simmons for a bunch of junk help anyway.
Well, junk, well, no, but it depends on who you get.
So what
You
do you
get-
think is a trade that helps both sides that works, Wade?
Like if you can get I don't know, let's think here. I think of scenarios in my head. There's a lot to think of on the spot. Okay, if you can get maybe a really good player, maybe not necessarily a superstar or an all-star, but a really good NBA player, maybe another solid role player, and a draft pick or 2. I think that's worth it.
So Tobias Harris and Seth Curry.
No.
No. So
trying to
okay.
think.
So I listened to the podcast on the way down here talking about potential trades. I'm just going to throw names out here,
Okay.
even though some of them I think are obvious. But I'm going to throw names out here and see what you guys think. If Boston offers you Jaylen Brown, do you do
Done.
it? Done.
Done.
I agree. I think it's
Yeah,
done.
He's
definitely.
better than Ben
immediately.
Simmons. Just done.
Once he gets healthy, because he has a collapsed lung apparently. C.J. McCollum.
Yeah, I'd do that one.
I think I would do it. It's not Jaylen Brown done, but I think I would do it.
McCollum has shown he can score with the best of them in
Yeah.
the league.
His ability, I agree with it.
And at least
everybody.
he can shoot a free throw.
The past couple years, though,
And take a layup.
one, they need Simmons was a huge part of the defense, and without him there, and Embiid's going to miss every third game, you need someone who can play defense because
he
Seth
is-
Curry is a liability on defense.
He is beyond a lead on defense. He
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
So you
a
need, and
monster.
CJ cannot play defense, and he's
No.
starting to get injury prone. So I'm iffy on that one. Up in the air.
But if you have a player who's so up in the air about his mental status, about going on the court and like, oh my god, I can't shoot a free throw, so I'm so self-conscious about my life. So there's no reason for him to be there. So I'd rather have somebody who can score the ball and shoot a free throw than worry about the defense and just let it go.
So let's move on to the next one, a little closer to home. Sabonis.
Ooh,
I would do it. I think I would do it.
I won't
I don't
do
know
it
about the fit.
because of the fit. Because
Yeah.
I don't think him and Embiid, I think they overlap too much.
Yeah.
We've already seen Sabonis playing with a big man who does stretch, but he's a big man, and their overlap doesn't seem to work as much.
it's just like I'm not going to do it because I'm a Pacers fan. But the other hand is that the system that we have in Indiana doesn't work for the 2 guys that's on the floor. Like, it doesn't work for those guys. And Rick Carlisle is like pretty much cleaning house and doing what he wants to do right now. And I don't know if Ben Simmons training for Sabonis is going to work out for that organization.
I think Ben Simmons playing for Rick Carlisle would be a disaster.
Yeah,
Personally.
total disaster.
All right, next one. Jeremy Grant.
You talking about your defense right there?
Yeah.
Well, I like Jeremy Grant. I think he's a good piece, but I think you have to add more to it to get for Simmons. Personally. Because I think if you trade them straight head up for each other, I think the 76ers are losing that.
Can Tobias play the 4?
I think Grant and Tobias, between the two of them, can play the 4, yeah. I mean, Grant's played the 4. He played the 4 in Denver.
I thought Millsap was the 4.
Well, I mean, he did off the bench.
Maybe. That's an interesting one. I'm trying to think in my head how it would fit. That's interesting. On a quick side note, before we go any farther, we are at an hour and a half, and we haven't talked about KG in like 25 minutes.
Yeah, we should probably do that. Sorry.
Yeah.
We did get off on a hell of a sidetrack there. The NBA is interesting right now, and like
It
half
really
the
is.
league has COVID. So we might see another shutdown.
Well, not even
Which is
NBA.
scary.
The NFL has got like
NFL's
fucking
going.
80 cases of COVID.
Baker tested positive
Yeah.
today.
Good.
Probably the best thing for him.
Well, this is not good getting ready for fantasy playoff time. Can't be having all my players on COVID.
You know who you got to pick up now.
Case Keenum.
Okay, so is it time for Alex's litigation corner?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh boy.
All right, here we go.
Ray, what's up, buddy?
Let's rock it.
Why you got Bob Cousy ahead of Garnett?
What the fuck?
Hey, wait. Oh, Koozie. I made that. I literally picked out Bob Cousy on purpose for that video.
You know what? I don't know. I think maybe being the best point guard for a decade did it, but also, probably being the most dominant power forward for maybe, 8 years. You could interchange them, but I don't know. That's one of them iffy ones that I have on my list.
All right. And I only have one more for you, Ray. Why do you have Garnett ahead of Shaq?
I think Shaq is really dominant, but I think Kevin Garnett is a more rounded player. And I've seen some highlights today that Kevin Garnett was running into a brick wall and he just didn't give a fuck. And his name was Shaq and still scored on his ass. And I think Kevin Garnett gets a little nod.
Okay. All right. Litigation time is over for you, Ray.
Thank you, sir.
Now we will move on to Drew.
No.
First one. Why do you have Clyde Drexler ranked ahead of Kevin Garnett?
Oh, probably have to go with him scoring more than what KG did. I know KG has a little bit more accolades, but I think I take Drexler scoring more in the proportion that I do, probably. Yeah, I think is it just one spot ahead?
Yeah, they're very close.
Yeah, so I think that's why I have him, probably.
So I would assume the same answer for George Gervin?
Yes. 'Cause I think George Gervin and Clyde Drexler are pretty similar. Besides, I think Gervin scores more, and Drexler got his championship with Elijah on that Rockets team. So I think that's why I have those two ahead of KG.
Well, I don't agree with you, but I see what you're saying.
I think the last 5 years of KG's career just decimated him, man. His career stat line just crushed it.
Well, the big one, Drew, you do have KG ahead of Anthony Davis, so I'm proud of you.
I do.
I'm proud of you.
When I saw KG at 5, I said, "Oh, I don't remember
Well,
doing that."
I mean,
but I'm glad it did.
They're only a couple spots apart. Anthony Davis is right behind him, but they're there. You got him ahead. So I feel you. And lastly, Drew, is why the hell do you got Bob Pettit ahead of you?
You know why Bob Pettit
Oh, my gosh.
scores more,
He does
rebounds more, MVP, championship, same, and he has. Oh no, he doesn't have Finals MVP. Wait, does he? No, yes, he does. I'm trying to think.
It's your guy. You should
I know. I get confused all the time, which I don't know.
He doesn't have as many All-Star Game MVPs as Bob Pettit.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true. That's one of our trivia questions. He's tied for most all time.
Yeah.
Bob Pettit is.
And all defensive teams weren't when Bob Pettit was there, so we don't know.
Oh,
That-
we know.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm done with you.
All right, that's fine. It's like I held my own.
By the way, Uncle Doug, I'm leaving you out this week.
Okay.
We've beat your Garnett ranking into
I
like
know.
a dead
I
horse.
admitted I
So
screwed up.
I'm just gonna leave you alone this week. So I'm just moving to Wade. Just a couple for you, Wade.
Okay.
First one. Well, you took my first one because I was gonna ask you about Barkley, but you kind of said you thought you would change
I'd probably
that.
swap them.
But my second one is right above him in Scottie Pippen. Why do you think Scottie is better than KG?
Probably what I said last week. I think Pippen in his prime is one of the greatest all-around players ever, and he has tremendous amount of team success.
I personally think Garnett and Pippen, player-wise, are super, super similar.
I agree.
I think they're both elite defenders. They're both good scorers, but not great scorers. Obviously, Pippen's a little better passer. Garnett's obviously a better rebounder, but to be expected, for the positions, I would say. One of them played with Michael Jordan, and one played in Minnesota, so I think that's the major difference there. But yeah, I had another one here. Let me see. Hold on.
Okay.
Oh, Dr. J. Why do you think you have Dr. J head?
Oh, that's a close one, actually. I think Dr. J meant a lot to the game. Some people do consider him, like we hit on this in a past episode, some people say he was the best player in the world for a period of time. It's debate, they have the whole NBA, ABA thing. I'm not sure KG was ever quite the best player in the world. He might have been close, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm going to have to debate it for a while.
In 2004, he was.
Yeah, that was MVP year. I might still argue that, but we can move on. He did win MVP, so that's fine. They're close. I have them right next to each other.
Yeah, you do. I just wondered.
I don't know. I can go back and forth on different things. The other one did, but I had to have a similar impact on the game. I think Dr. J meant more to the game of basketball. He helped revolutionize the whole playing above the rim thing. They both have one championship on pretty stacked teams. I think they both have an MVP. I think one was a much
Doc
better.
has multiple, doesn't he?
Well, I think NBA MVPs only has one.
Oh, okay.
ABA.
He's got some ABA
If
stuff.
you include the ABA stuff, Dr. J's career
Statistics are ridiculous.
catapults
Yeah,
above almost everyone.
yeah, no, that's true.
So that's tricky. That's why it's so tricky with Dr. J.
Yeah, no, I understand it. All right, litigation has ended. Shall we give our closing statements on old Kevin Garnett?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's do
All
it.
right. So we'll start from reverse order this time. We'll start with me. I think Kevin Garnett is definitely an all-time great and deserves to be on all of our lists. But I don't think, as Wade has mentioned, I don't think he stacks up to Duncan. Sorry,
He doesn't stack up against Durant either.
well, I think he
Get
does,
outta
but we can talk about that another day. I don't think he stacks up with Duncan, although Duncan Garnett matchups in my lifetime were something to behold. I always liked watching those, and you can throw Dirk into that. Dirk Garnett matchups were always fun to watch. I remember watching a Minnesota game on on a TNT broadcast when I was a kid, and Garnett went out to block a three, and I just thought it was funny because of today's NBA. But Garnett went out to block a three, and the guy shooting the three ducked and caught Garnett like in the knees and flipped him over, and Garnett landed on his head and was stretchered off the floor. Well, I'm watching this at Randy and Kathy's, and my Uncle Randy looks at me and goes, "Why is a 7-footer in three-point land? He has no business out there." And like he was talking to me like, like he's a power forward. His ass should be in the paint. Why is he doing?
Very confused.
Yeah, like today's NBA, that's just craziness. But the thing was, I was trying to explain to my uncle, like the guy shooting the ball was actually Wang Gigi. You remember him?
Wang.
Because he was 7 foot, but he shot threes.
Yeah.
The next Yao Ming. Wang Gigi.
But at that time, and if you were a big guy, even Dirk fell into this category at that time, if you were a big guy and you shot threes, you were just a pussy.
You were soft.
Yeah, you were a pussy. You were soft. You were a wuss. That's how you were viewed. I'm not calling anybody a pussy. I'm just saying that's how you were viewed. And I was trying to explain to him there was a center out there shooting the three, and he's like, "No, dude, big man playing the paint." Like, anyway, Garnett is somebody I remember fondly from growing up watching guys play, and maybe that is part of the reason I do have him ranked ahead of some of the other power forwards. But I just think his all-around game and being able to do everything is what separates him from some of the other guys on my power forward list. Ray?
All right. So I got to mirror you, Alex. He's not as good as Duncan, but Kevin Garnett is number 2 power forward on my list. I speak highly of him. I love the shit out of Kevin Garnett. I have a lot of grit and grind players on my list, and I love the shit out of that fucking aspect. And for somebody to have that much passion for the game, competitive spirit, and have the accolades that he has, I have to give him that much respect. And that him going at number 12 and number 2 on my list, he deserves that shit 100%. So that's where I got him at.
All right. And Wade?
I mean, I just really liked KG. He was the boss. I really like guys that play defense and have versatility, and that's literally fits Kevin Garnett to a T. He was a monster. And just, yeah, I think we pretty much said everything. He's just a beast.
Fair enough. Drew?
I think we basically said everything. He's got everything from a player standpoint. I think that we asked for on a list. He's got a championship, MVP, defensive player. He doesn't have the finals MVP, but everything else I think he has. Total numbers, he looks good. Averages are there. They'd be a little bit higher, but he stayed for a long time. So you're going to get that when you stay in the league for 19 years. So I think he's got it all.
21, actually.
21, yeah.
And Uncle Doug.
Well, we already know I screwed up. You guys summed it up pretty well.
All right. And Buddy?
Yeah, I dare you to find someone that cared more, like, about the game. You know, he said that was saved his life was basketball. And he cared about the game, and he cared about winning, and he cared about leaving it all on the court. And as he so eloquently quoted, for 13 years, I played over 11,000 games, 40 minutes a night, with the intensity reserved for a mother trying to rescue their child who's trapped under a truck. Itis. So, and that was him to a T. He was all out all the time, and he was one of the funnest guys to watch. And he always backed it up. So, I mean, he was the ultimate teammate. He didn't care about numbers. He just wanted to win. He made everybody else care around him after he left Minnesota. And he's the guy that would set you straight. He's the mentor you needed. But at the same time, he would be the guy that, like you said, would ride or die for you. He would have your back. And he openly says that if he could have changed one thing in his career, is that it would have been that he would have went to Boston sooner in his career. But yeah, KG is my favorite player by far of all time, and that's all I have to say.
Oh yeah,
fair enough. I do have one quick question though. Did anybody else find it weird that Boston retired his jersey?
And Minnesota hasn't?
Well, that's even worse. But
yeah.
Because not that I'm dissing Garnett by any means, but not only was he only there for a few years, but this is Boston we're talking about, who has so many retired jerseys and so many all-time greats. We're going to throw Garnett in there?
You got to do a lot for like Boston and LA to make the rafters.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
Did they retire Paul Pierce's jersey?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was there for like 12,
They're not going to have
years.
any more numbers to give out. And
well, they don't have any single-digit numbers left anymore. I'm pretty sure.
All right.
Because I mean, all those young or not young, old ass Celtics teams, you know, with Russell and them, they all were single digits. So all those guys took out all the single digit numbers, and then of course you got
Bird.
Parrish is the double zeros, and then you get McHale and Bird in 32 and 33.
Yeah.
You know,
Pierce is 34.
yeah, Pierce is 34. So I'm sure we're forgetting a couple people, but there's a lot of numbers retired from those Celtics teams.
They're going to have to start putting zeros in front of the numbers, even have anybody playing.
I wonder what they will do when some of these franchises. I mean, it won't be for a long time, but what are they going to do when they run out?
Yeah, like
Are they just going to have to up the criteria, or are they just
101,
they'll find something.
102, 103,
Yeah.
104.
Make the numbers smaller and put 3 of them in.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was just a quick question. So we move on to trivia. So, I believe, unless I'm wrong, we're going to change trivia up today. And our guest, Buddy, is going to ask all the questions. And all we're going to do is answer them.
I could not grab it.
So I'm picking up the slack from Mark, not bringing any damn trivia questions to this show. So yeah, that's a shot at you, Mark.
Who is a loyal listener, so he will hear the shot.
Yeah, that one's for you. Hope you're doing okay, buddy. All right, so in the 1995 draft, Kevin Garnett went number 5. In front of him was Joe Smith, McDyess was there, Rasheed Wallace was number 4, I believe. And let's see, who was number 3? I just had it pulled up, and so I apologize. No, I'm not even ready. It was Joe Smith, Antonio McDyess, Jerry Stackhouse, thank you, Doug, Rasheed Wallace, and Kevin Garnett. Name one other person in that draft class.
Oh, crap.
1995.
Wow. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the ones I knew.
I mean, a lot of options, but this was probably one of the biggest top-heavy drafts. There are some names in there that you will recognize and played a lot of seasons, but they're hard to come by in this draft class.
Oh, boy.
I don't know, but I'm guessing, I guess.
I don't have to fill its full name.
I'm ready.
I got one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got a guess.
All right. Well, go ahead. Doug, nothing? All right. Drew, go ahead.
Devontae Williams. I'm just guessing someone's name with Williams. And let's see if I can get anything.
Well, there was a Williams in the draft, but not a Devontae. Alex?
I put Carlos Williamson.
Corliss Williamson went number 13 to the Sacramento Kings.
That's what I'm talking about.
How about Allen Houston?
Allen Houston. He wasn't in this draft.
I don't have a clue what her name is.
Tony Kukoc.
No Kukoc. So, number 6, Big Country. Brian
I
Reeves.
forgot about Big Country.
No-
Son of a bitch.
Number 7, Damon Stoudemire. And it gets really bad after that. Sean Respert, Ed O'Bannon, Kurt Thomas, Gary Trent, Cherokee Parks, Corliss Williamson.
Oh, God.
Brent Barry went 15. Theo Ratliff went 18. Michael Finley went 21.
Ooh, Michael Finley.
Travis Best was 23.
Travis
There's your best boy right there. And notably, Greg Ostertag at 28.
There's a lot of
And Andrew
solid players in that
Solid,
draft. I mean,
Like, there's guys that played a lot of seasons and contributed a lot, but no one that really was,
yeah.
stood out. You got DeClerc in there.
Oh, Andrew DeClerc.
Yeah. There's some guys in it.
T-Mac really liked having him around.
Fred Hoiberg went in there, too.
Fred Hoiberg.
So, Alex, give yourself a point on that one.
I did.
He said, don't worry, I did. Tim Duncan, Charles Barkley, and Karl Malone all finished their careers with 4 triple-doubles. How many triple-doubles did Kevin Garnett finish his career with?
Wow.
I was really hoping it was somewhere on the screen.
Yeah, you have to actually search out triple doubles when you're trying to find out how many guys had. It's not like something that's just listed on on their stat page.
I'll give you a hint. It's under 25.
Okay.
Okay. I'll stick with my.
I gotta guess.
I guess.
Doug, you better at least guess a number under 25.
I guess.
Okay.
All right, Doug, go ahead.
17.
17.
5.
5.
24.
24.
11.
16.
Drew, you're correct. 16 triple doubles.
Damn.
So, I mean, I think that kind of speaks to his versatility as a big man. You don't see a crap load of triple doubles from big guys during that time frame.
Yeah,
It seems like.
especially it's not today's NBA, so it's
Right.
actually a real nice triple double.
Yeah.
Speaking of today's NBA and triple doubles,
Oh shit.
Nikola Jokic was the fastest ever to record a triple double, game wise. So he did it the quickest. So, how long did it take him in the game before he recorded the triple double?
So like, just how many minutes?
How many minutes did he play before he hit the triple double mark?
Okay.
Go down the seconds. Whoever gets closest to the correct time gets the point.
Also, we're putting seconds as well.
Yep.
Oh shit.
So whoever gets closest to it gets the point.
All right. I'm digging this.
All right. So he
Price
was
is Right rules.
no. Whoever's closest.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So he did it the fastest. If I made Ricky Davis lay up at the end, he did it in 48 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Jokic was the fastest to do it in one game. How fast? How fast did he get it done?
All right. I gotta guess.
Yep.
Yeah, I gotta guess.
I gotta guess.
This one was actually pretty crazy.
Willard.
Okay.
Alex, go ahead.
I have 21:05.
21 minutes 5 seconds. Okay.
I
Wait.
have 26 minutes and 42 seconds.
Okay.
I just said 30 straight up.
30 straight up. Doug.
23 minutes and 50 seconds.
27 minutes, 35 seconds.
The correct answer is 14 minutes and 33 seconds. He had a triple double by the start of the
So
second
is that
quarter.
me? Was that the lowest?
That
number?
is you, Alex.
I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, it's you.
So
How
was
many?
that 14 of his gameplay minutes or 14 minutes into the game?
14 minutes and 33 seconds into the game, he had a triple double.
That is insane.
Oh my god.
Wow.
I see the rebounds and the points, but trying to get another one of those categories, that's...
But he's a really great passer too. And you think
Yeah,
you think you had guys just get that outlet pass.
Yeah, scores too. So I see.
That's ridiculous.
So it's pretty much almost to just in like a quarter.
Yeah.
Just a little bit extra time.
That's video game. That's video game stuff right there.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Holy shit.
That is intense, guys.
So far 3 questions, 3 points. Proud of you fellas. All right. Kevin Garnett was drafted out of high school at 18 years old. Kevin Garnett averaged 10.4 points his rookie year. LeBron James averaged 20.9 coming out his rookie year at being drafted at 18 years old. Who is the only other player to average double digits being drafted out of high school at 18 years old? They could be playing at the league at 19, but they had to be drafted out of high school at 18, and the rookie season averaged double digits. So what high schooler averaged double digits his rookie season in the NBA?
But he had, what was the age part again?
He got drafted at 18,
Okay.
and he averaged double digits his rookie season.
I got my answer.
I got 2.
I don't want to say the 2 I want, but I can't think of anybody else.
I think if I would have said, give me the 2 people, I'm pretty sure everyone would have got LeBron. So just give me the third guy that averaged double digits. There's only been 3 people. KG at 10.4, LeBron at 20.9, and one other guy.
Which kind of surprises me because we've had a ton of them at this point. Like, the only 3 of them average double digits.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you understand with a guy like Kobe who set the bench his rookie season, but like, there's been a lot of guys that came in and played out of high school.
Yeah.
It's not Kobe Bryant. Thanks, Alex.
I figured everybody knew that, so I wasn't
Well, I
trying.
didn't, so fuck you.
Sorry, I helped you.
So that's my answer.
Why fuck me? I gave you a
Well, I had it written down, so I mean.
You should erase it.
but that's okay.
Everybody have answer?
Yep. Yeah.
Waiting on you, Wade? Or you good?
Oh, I got one. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Wade. Who you got?
I put Amari.
Mari? Kobe? Doug?
Jermaine O'Neal.
Jermaine O'Neal? Drew?
Moses.
Moses? Alex?
Dwight.
Amari Stoudemire is the only other 18-year-old to get drafted and average double digits his rookie season.
Well, I knew Dwight averaged 12, and he came out of high school, but I wasn't for sure on the age.
The age, yeah. I think that was the only...
I was going back between Moses and Amari, but I was like, I feel like Amari's a good shot.
Yeah, it's a good choice.
I just didn't know, and I know I was a little violent towards Alex over there. I'm very sorry. Very, very sorry. But I just didn't know who I need to go with, and when he said Kobe, I'm like, you mother effer.
So one more?
Last one.
more.
Last
All
one.
right.
There you go.
This one's kind of a football question, if you want to look at it this way.
Okay.
Who's the only Heisman Trophy winner to play in the NBA?
I know this.
Oh my gosh, I do not.
I should know this.
Won the Heisman Trophy,
Crap.
played in the NBA.
I got it.
And he was a legit starter in the NBA, too.
He was a starter on a finals team.
Oh, crap. I'll feel dumb.
I'm going to get 3 fucking points today.
I'm just going to write down a ridiculous answer, and it's going to be okay.
Write down Joe Smith.
Fuck Joe Smith. He ruined my franchise. I actually knew that answer whenever you guys asked that trivia question.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
I literally talked myself into it live on the podcast. Like,
Ray, what's your guess?
Master P.
That's correct.
I thought it was.
Doug, go ahead.
Charlie Ward.
Who you got,
Ooh,
Drew?
Charlie Ward.
I write one that I couldn't think.
Charlie Ward.
Charlie Ward.
Charlie Ward.
That's correct. Charlie Ward.
Yeah.
Florida State, I believe.
Yes.
Quarterback?
Florida State.
That's right.
Dirty, dirty Nick.
Drafted to the Knicks. Nice job, fellas.
Well, thank you, buddy. We
Yes, thanks for
appreciate you bringing questions today. That was
Before we
awesome.
get off the air here, you're not going to get out of here scot-free. Pick up the board.
Oh.
And
Okay.
I have a question for you.
What are the points at right now?
Well, I mean, you're only going to get one.
No, this
Oh.
based on all the podcasts I listened to, I think I'm smoking Wade because I got most of them. That's why I was curious.
That's what
So-
Mark tells us every time, too. Mark's like, man, if I was on here, I'd kill you guys. And then he sits on the
Never
couch
gets
and
it.
misses the question. And I'm like, yeah.
All right,
Wow.
thanks, Ray. Let's get it.
Yeah. I'm like the sneaky himbo if you would watch the ESPN programs. But when Paul Pierce scored 2,116 points for Boston in 2005 and 06, who was second on the team with 836 points in a Celtics uniform?
You said 05, 06, right?
Yeah.
So was that the year before Garnett?
No. Yeah, he went there in 8.
Oh, an 8 of that late? Okay. My bad.
So
he was there in that next.
Was he? I don't know.
Pierce's.
I thought he was on that Miami team.
He
with
was.
Shaq and
He
D.
was.
Wade.
Yeah, he was. It's true.
Tony Battie.
Antoine Walker.
Negative. Delonte.
Delonte.
Oh no!
I thought Walker was a good pick. I thought I had it there. Did he play on that?
We were whispering over it. He was in Miami for D. Wade and Shaq's championship team, which would have been what a year or two before that, or that year or
They
something.
won
like
in
that.
06, didn't they?
I'm a Minnesota fan, not a Boston fan. So, in all fairness, that was a good question. Thank you.
All
I
right.
think I'm still ahead on points though.
So after this week's tallies, which there was a few of, the scores are as follows. Ray with 20.
Yeah.
Doug and Drew with 41. Alex with 48. And Wade with 54. So, how many points you get today, Wade?
You actually cut into him by 2.
Yeah.
2. No, I got
You
2
got
points
2 and I got 3, so I couldn't do by 1 today.
Oh yeah, you got Mari.
And Charlie Ward.
Yes.
Trivia. God.
That was nice. All right. Well, we appreciate you tuning in for this episode of Kevin Garnett. We're
The cat is throwing you off really bad, isn't it?
we appreciate you tuning in next week for Charles Barkley.
No, we already did Charles Barkley.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
We recorded that order. Okay. Charles Barkley episode. And then, so we appreciate that. And thanks for tuning in to Sports the NEMO Way.